But I want to kind of introduce Think Tank Media because we get asked all the time, who in the world is Think Tank Media? What do you do? You know, what in the world? So I'm going to take you on a journey back to 1950 something. I'm not sure of the year. Think Tank didn't exist back then, by the way, and neither did digital advertising and digital marketing. But my grandfather grew up in South Bend, Indiana, right across the street from the University of Notre Dame's football stadium. He went to his undergrad there. He went to law school there. He joined the Air Force. While stationed in Warner Robins, Georgia, he answered a classified line ad in his local newspaper looking for a tax attorney, basically. He got the job, and that job moved him to Gadsden, Alabama, where he began to work for the Gadsden Times. After a while, he got to a point where he had like a minuscule little bitty tiny piece of ownership in the Gadsden Times, and he swapped that for a newspaper, like a whole newspaper, in a town called Hopewell, Virginia, which is outside of Richmond, Virginia. He continued to do like tax attorney type work. My father joined the company in 1970, late 70s, 1977, I think. And he came on as a CPA, and they were a team that kind of did tax work and bookkeeping work for small community businesses in Gadsden, but they also did the same type of work for community newspaper groups across the Southeast. Rather than taking cash payment for the work that they were doing for these newspapers, they took payment in stock. And before you know it, they had 2 or 3 newspapers, and then it was 4 or 5 newspapers, and then it was 6 or 7 newspapers, and then through the 80s and the 90s, they continued to grow the business. We still have like 20 newspapers today across the Southeast and Midwest, as far up as southern Iowa to the Texas Panhandle to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and over to outside of Augusta, Georgia. So that's kind of what we've done forever, is we've run newspapers. And you're like, okay, well, what's Think Tank Media have to do with this? I started working, much like my grandfather and father did, about 15 years ago, and they immediately kind of threw me into the accounting and the bookkeeping side, and I was kind of doing some of those things. And then they shipped me to Branson, Missouri, where we have the newspaper there, and I learned how to run a printing press, and I ran the mail equipment, and we raced forklifts in the warehouse, which was probably a terrible idea. Shoveled a heck of a lot of snow for a southern boy, which I did not enjoy, and eventually they asked me if I wanted to try my hand at selling advertising. And I said, it's got to be better than shoveling snow and running a press, so I'm in. So I jumped in my little Kia Sorento, and I drove all over Taney County and Stone County, Missouri, trying to sling ads for the Branson Tri-Lakes News, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Getting to interact with the public and put together advertising plans, hopefully that would help their businesses grow. I moved back to Gadsden, and I'm kind of back in the accounting world and back in kind of trying to do the bookkeeping stuff. But now I've got more of a sales role too, and I'll go to our different papers and do sales blitz, things of that nature. The newspaper industry, by the way, isn't what it once was, right? It's still strong in small communities where you're hyper-focused, hyper-local everything. It could still be a very powerful tool. So we decided to try to supplement our income company-wide with digital advertising. This was probably about 2015-ish, maybe. And I kind of saw the success that our local advertisers that were placing ads with their local newspapers were having, and I was seeing the return on investment that they were getting, and I started thinking, why in the world would we not try to do this in Gadsden, Alabama, and kind of see where it takes us. I was supposed to go to this slide already, sorry, with these beautiful pictures of our team. Anyway, so in 2017, we launched Think Tank Media. Or maybe 2018. And I like to think of us now as basically a full-scale advertising agency. Any kind of way you would want to get your message out, we'll find a way, we'll figure out a way to do it. So in 2018, we hired our first employee, who was sitting right here in a red dress. She was commission only, part-time salesperson. She's now our director of sales and marketing. I think Lacey was our third hire. She's been with us for almost 5 years. Does a fantastic job. Think Tank has run campaigns, digital advertising campaigns. We've served ads in Western Europe, the Middle East, in places like Dubai, in Puerto Rico, and Canada, all over the country. We are a preferred vendor for Alpha Insurance. This is our 4th year to be approved for that. I think last year, y'all can help me out with this, I think it was like right at 200 different Alpha agents we ran campaigns for across Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi. But they're about to roll their eyes at this. But my favorite ever example is we ran a digital campaign for an Amish furniture maker in central Kentucky that didn't even have a website. So kind of my whole point in talking about all of this is there's no client too large, there's no client too small that we'll partner with to help out, to help you get your message out so you can move your goods and services. Anything else that you guys would add to that, or that kind of cover it? Okay. But you're not here to hear me wax poetically or unpoetically about Think Tank Media. You're here to hopefully learn something. And if you take nothing else, if there is nothing else that you remember today, this is what you need to remember. Nothing in business starts without a sale. Somebody, if you would, please raise your hand and tell me what your absolute favorite thing is about working in your business. Yes, ma'am.
My favorite thing I would say is being able to help people feel confident about themselves. A lot of people feel, when their hair is not right and kind of alters your mood. And
sure.
Help make people feel good.
Awesome. Maybe one other person. Give me something else you love about your business. Your favorite. Go ahead.
My favorite part is finding the perfect fit, because we're searching for caregivers to provide a service for clients to keep them safe and comfortable in their homes longer. So when you find that perfect fit and you no longer get the call-ins or the fires to put out, it's magic.
Awesome. So one of my favorite things that I get to do right now, we partner with other media groups outside of our own company, and we teach them how to sell digital, and then we've got a team that presses all the buttons and pulls all the levers and makes the campaigns go behind the scenes. And I love going to these different communities and interacting with new salespeople. But guess what? My favorite thing that I get to do, I don't get to do unless what happens? Unless we sell something. You don't get to do your favorite. You don't get to help people feel better about themselves unless we're selling stuff, right? And so this has got to be the heartbeat of the local business, okay? We have got to drive revenue. Every morning when we wake up, our heartbeat needs to be, we got to sell something. We got to sell something so that we can take care of our families, so that we can take care of our customers, so that we can reinvest into our community and we can all be happy and merry and lovely all together. So if you take nothing else away from what I say today, okay, we can all love what we love about our businesses, but nothing is going to happen unless we first sell something. If you want to remember two things, I'll give you another thing. You ready? And this is a little humbling maybe, but most people, when they wake up in the morning, they're not thinking about your business. Let that sink in for a second. Most people, when they wake up in the morning, they're not thinking about your business. Let me tell you why, okay? I'm at what I like to think is kind of a busy time in life. I already told you about my kids. I've got a first grader. I've got 2 at Gadsden Middle School. I tend to wake up, it depends on if it's a workout morning, which I know is a shocker that I definitely don't look like a workout, but this was a workout morning, which means I got up at exactly 4:42 because that's what I needed to get some clothes on and to drink some coffee, to go get a workout in, to get back to the house, to be in the shower by 6:30, because we got to have frozen waffles on the plate, and we have to leave my house at exactly 7:17 in the morning to get 1 to Year Brown, to get 2 to Gadsden Middle so I can be at work by 7:30, and then it's emails, and it's appointments, and it's Zoom calls, and it's speaking at the chamber, and it's payroll covered, and I got to get this light bill out. And I try to leave every day at 4:30. Do you think my day's over? No, and Roger and I were just talking about this. We've got football workouts and ballet, and we got church events. We got all this stuff that we're trying to do. We get home and we eat our dinner, and I'm making the kids do their homework, and they're putting away the dishes. Not really, but we try to get them to do that. It's 9:30, 10 o'clock, and my wife Margaret and I are just kind of sitting there going, holy moly, how in the world did we make it through the day? We've got to wake up and and do the exact same thing tomorrow. In the middle of all that, when did I think about your business? I didn't, right? People are busy. So we've got to figure out a way to make them think about what it is that we're doing. I want to introduce to you something called the thin market concept. Anybody ever heard of this before? Thin market concept? If you've gone to business school or studied marketing and all, you probably heard this before. It's simply this: the market for any good or service is relatively thin at any point in time. That means that people are into the market, they make their buying decision, and then they're out of the market in a relatively short period of time. Let's take mattresses, for example, okay? A mattress store. Y'all ever see any of those around Gadsden? Right? Okay. So a mattress store. I wake up this morning and my back hurts. And my wife is complaining because she has been sleeping in a divot for 6 months. I have rotated said mattress. I have flipped said mattress, but to no avail. I am in the market for a mattress. I'm probably going to make my decision pretty quick because my back hurts and I don't want to hear my wife talk about how she is sleeping in a divot. Where am I going to go buy this mattress? Probably to the place that has been advertising and marketing their mattresses consistently with their message and frequently pushing that message out there. I'm going to go get the mattress. It's going to be a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then guess what? I'm out of the market. Does anybody know how often Americans replace their mattress, by the way? Yep. That's right, 6 to 8 years. So all the other mattress stores, easy for me to say, that I did not do business with, they've got to wait 6 to 8 years to get back into my wallet, okay? So we have got to be getting our message out, and it's right there on the bottom. And again, if you're taking notes, you want to write something down, your message or the story that you're telling everybody needs to be consistent, and you need to have it out there frequently, okay? Any questions so far before I kind of move on here? Everybody good? All right, well, I'll ask a question then. What are we doing to introduce ourselves to our customers? What are we doing to grab our fair share of the thin market, okay? What are we doing to make sure that they are thinking of us in the middle of their business day so that we can drive sales, because nothing in business starts without a sale, so that you can do the things about your business that you love most. I think we need to put people into the funnel. Anybody that's ever taken any kind of sales course or done sales in their life, probably familiar with this. Anybody, show of hands, know about the sales funnel? Or you can call it the customer funnel. I like to call it the ADA funnel. Anybody ever change their own oil? Anybody ever funneled a beer or seen somebody funnel a beer? Do you all know how funnels work? Okay? The more you put in the top, what happens? The more comes out the bottom. Pretty simple. So we've got to constantly be filling the funnel, okay? You, for your business, you have to constantly and strategically, since our session is called strategic planning, strategically be filling the funnel. And it starts with awareness, okay? We have got to make people aware of who we are and what it is that we're doing. A lot of ways that you can do that. I'll suggest a few for you, okay? Social media, a great way to make people aware of what it is that you're doing. Did you know that people spend, on average, 13 hours a day consuming media? Did you know that? 13 hours a day. Now, this is going to count radio passively playing in the background. It's going to count the TV on, but while you're scrolling your phone. But 13 hours a day. About 8 to 9 of those hours are spent consuming digital media, okay? And a lot of the digital media that's being consumed is going to be social media, Facebook, Instagram mostly, but then now you've got TikTok and Snapchat, LinkedIn, and all the other ones. So that's a great place to make people aware, because that's where they're spending their time. Local SEO. SEO, by the way, stands for search engine optimization. You want to be found when people are looking for you. They go to Google, which is, I think 62% of people use Google as their search engine. They spend the first 7 seconds of their internet journey on Google, right? So you want to make sure that your information is accurate. You want to make sure that your information is similar across all platforms so that your ranking can increase. Google Ads is another way The little sponsored AdWords, some people call it Google AdWords that you see at the top. Again, these are all ways for you to be found. Print, I have to mention it because of the newspaper background. Billboards, radio, cable TV. I mean, you could go on and on. There are tons of ways to make sure that the public is aware of who you are, okay? That's the first step in the customer funnel. But we don't want to leave it there, right? Because we still haven't sold anything. And the most important thing we can do is sell something. So we've got to move them from being aware of who we are to piquing their interest. We need to pique their interest. A lot of things that I wrote up there, I'll probably will say something about all of them, but let me just briefly mention websites. That's a very important tool for you guys. Make sure that you have a web presence, because the first place people are going to go to look for you is probably going to be your website if they want to learn more about you. Use some video, have some interesting content on your website to pique their interest. YouTube ads, okay, we can go in by demographic there and try to pique people's interest. Text messaging and email blasts. We can, I'll give you a quick, for instance, we've got a local furniture store that we work with, and they sell some nicer furniture. We were able to go in and find a list of cell phones for Etowah County. It was 150,000 plus household income, people that were interested in home renovations, home remodels, and home decor. And I found like right at 2,000 cell phones that fit that demographic. A great way to pique their interest to get them to do business with this furniture store is to send them a text message right to their phone. We can do that. We can do the same with email blasts. Industry-specific magazines, okay? Obviously, if somebody's picking up a trade magazine, they're interested in what you're doing. That's a great place to get your message out as well. But again, we still haven't sold anything, right? We got to move them from awareness to pique their interest. Now we want to increase their desire. How can we increase their desire? A lot of different things that we can do. Search and keyword targeting is a great thing. That is picking up what people are reading about online, keywords that they're searching, and we can serve them your ads for the next 30 days wherever they go online or in-app. Geofencing, you've probably heard about that before. A virtual fence around any real-world location. We can take it as big as you want to. We can take it as small as 4 meters. It can be any shape or size. Somebody walks in there for 3 seconds, we're going to start following them with your ads on their cell phone, and I can track foot traffic back to their place of business. Addressable geofencing, just like regular geofencing, only we've got about 1,000 different demographics, and we can geofence these individual homes and track foot traffic back to your place of business. Streaming TV commercials, there's tons of ways that we can do this, but we've got to increase their desire. And by the way, it'd be a whole lot better if we can grab them at increased desire by the behavior that they're presenting to us online, by the little breadcrumbs of behavior that they're leaving all over the internet, and we can serve them your ad based off their interest than just trying to capture them at aware and move them down the funnel. What happens there, I mean, technical term would be like lower funnel conversion. Everybody's eyes is going back in the back of their head when I say that. But if you get a lower level conversion, that just means money in your pocket faster, right? So we want to move them from awareness to interest to desire, and ultimately we want them to take an action. Somebody tell me, what is that action? Amen. We want them to buy our product, right? So let's kind of back up for a second. Nothing in business starts without a sale, right? Nobody, that's extreme. Most people, right, when they wake up in the morning, they're not thinking about doing business with you. And there's a thin market that we're all trying to capture. So my question is, what are you doing? What are you doing to capture your fair share? We've got to introduce people to who we are, make them aware of what we're doing. We've got to pique their interest. We've got to increase their desire to do business with us, and ultimately we want them to take an action. You're like, okay, John, you have talked a whole lot, and I still don't really know anything about strategic planning. But before I jump onto that, does anybody have any questions so far? All right. So I'm going to give you this morning some questions that you can ask yourself when putting together your strategic plan, and then we're going I'm gonna stop talking after that, I promise, and we're going to do something a little different this morning, okay? But here are some great questions that I think any business owner should be asking themselves. First of all, where are your customers located? All right? What's your area of trade? Are you trying to get people in Gadsden, Alabama, or do you sell your wigs to people in Jackson, Mississippi? You know? Yeah, so your message needs to be getting out where your potential customers are, not just here locally, right? Wherever you're selling your goods, your products, your services, where are your customers located? Because that's where your advertising budget needs to go. What are your key demographics? What does your customer look like? Are they male? Are they female? How old are they? Do they have kids? What's their education? Do they have pets? Do they have a pool in the backyard? What's their household income? Key demographics. Who is buying from you? Number 3, what am I currently doing for advertising? And is it working? And if it's not working, let's pivot and let's try something else, okay? But what are you currently doing for advertising? Everybody hates question number 4. What's your budget, right? What's your budget? You got to think, anybody in advertising, of course, is going to stand up here and tell you this, but it's an investment. It's an investment into you. It's an investment into your business. You've got to set the money aside if you want to see your business grow. I think it was Henry Ford that said, stopping your advertising to save money is just like stopping your watch to save time. Just doesn't work. So you've got to start shifting your thinking. Advertising is an investment in yourself. It's an investment in your business. And then here's another one, and we could stand out here, and I've got all kinds of sales training back home back at the office a few blocks down the street with hundreds of questions. So these are just 5, but this is one more that I would throw out there is, am I missing customers that don't fit within my key demographic? In other words, are there people out there that are my customer, but I don't know that they're my customer, or I don't know that they're going to be buying from me? And again, we can pick up on them by targeting their behavior, right? Okay. Any questions? I'm going to shut my mouth.